On this Friday night at 6, President Trump has ordered a new FBI probe into Supreme Court nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh following accusations of sexual assault.
Yeah, but the president says it must be limited in scope and not last more than a week. Several key Republicans had said that they supported the investigation to gather more information about Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's allegations that Kavanaugh assaulted her back in high school. Among the supporters, Arizona Senator Jeff Flake.
I can only say that I would be only comfortable moving forward on the floor. I'll move it out of committee, but I will only be comfortable moving on the floor until the FBI has done more investigation than they have already.
Well, earlier when President Trump was asked about a potential delay, he said he didn't mind and that he is not considering a replacement for Judge Kavanaugh.
So now Judge Kavanaugh hangs in limbo between his approval in the Senate Judiciary Committee and the final vote from the full Senate. So why is this still evolving, and could it greatly influence the balance of the Supreme Court? The answer to that in part is absolutely. 11 Alive's Joe Hankey is in the newsroom to explain.
Well, Jeff, this decision continues to come down to party lines, Democrats versus Republicans. The Republicans hold that very slim majority in the Senate, which could decide whether Kavanaugh is confirmed as the newest Supreme Court justice. And if he is, conservative politics could decide Supreme Court rulings in the very near future. If you were asking why the nomination and possible confirmation of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court is so important, you probably are not alone. The biggest reason is it could change the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court and the decisions it makes. The University of Michigan has developed what is called the Martin Quinn score. It analyzes past court rulings and presents this as the current balance of the Supreme Court, including retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy, who Kavanaugh would replace. 4 justices lean to the left, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor being the most liberal. 5 lean right, with Justice Clarence Thomas as the most conservative. Kennedy joined the court in 1988, and while leaning right, he is the closest to the middle and has often been the swing vote during close 5-4 decisions. Experts say key issues such as abortion rights could be rolled back under a more conservative justice, which is a role Kavanaugh could fill. As the full Senate prepares to vote on Kavanaugh's nomination, every vote will be needed for him to be confirmed. Right now, there are 49 Democrats and 51 Republicans in the Senate. A 50-50 split would be decided by Vice President Mike Pence. Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bob Corker, and Jeff Flake have been on the fence more than anyone else. Last night on Twitter, Corker came out in support of Kavanaugh. Flake today during the judiciary vote supported Kavanaugh, but he has not said whether he will in the full Senate. NBC News reports Murkowski and Collins both support the one-week delay and probe, which the president is now calling for tonight. So far, every indication from Georgia's senators, Republican David Perdue and Johnny Isakson, is that they will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. In a statement released late this afternoon, Perdue called the Democrats' demands for an FBI investigation nothing more than, quote, an orchestrated effort to cause a delay and push this decision past the election in November. Faith.
All right, Joe Hankey, thank you so much.